listening to the Kingdom Lung Podcast from the LUM.
Good morning out there, clown world. Yes, I said it. Good morning. It is not good evening. It is Thursday, December 16th, and I'm making this recording in the morning, not in the evening. So I've been trying to work on this episode for the last few days, and I actually just got my mind blown. I'm glad I'm not doing this live, right? Because I'm trying to progress, get better at all of the ways that I'm using this media software, right? And so I've kind of figured out a better way to bring you like more digital clips and better quality. And I just got my mind blown. I'm going to explain this in a second, right? So the best laid plans of mice and men. I was going to start this show off with something completely different. And this morning I was on my way to take my kids to school, and I was listening to NPR. Now, you heard me talk about on the last episode about NPR and about how I grew up with NPR listening, and over the years I started to understand how slanted the journalism is and how basically their agenda, right? You can go back on the last episode and listen to that. So now that I've been able to kind of see these things and you can't unsee them, I just find it fascinating. Now I can literally listen to the news, and my mind can tell me where each article is going, what they're reporting on. But this was mind blowing. So I just had to restart the recording because I was going to play you a back-to-back clip about how showing you proof that not only are the articles slanted, but how race is power and the power leads to money and all of these things, right? And this narrative that white people are horrible racists and black people are, oppressed and everything. And they don't ever talk, well, I don't say ever, but the real injustices that come with race don't get looked at, It's all this narrative to keep us divided all the time. So I actually had recorded the snippet that I had heard this morning, which I couldn't believe, and I'm going to play that for you here in just a second. But I decided to go back on my computer and pull up the news stream, and I pulled it up to play it because the original story was there in front, but the second story that came behind it, they've already moved that second story. And so thank God I actually recorded it so that you can hear exactly what I'm saying. And this is just, I already had proof to show you. Now I have further proof. So I want you to listen to this snippet first, and I'll come right back. Here it goes.
On Wall Street, the Dow is now up 113 points at 36,040. You're listening to NPR News. In Minnesota, prosecutors are expected to rest their case today in the manslaughter trial of an ex-police officer. Kimberly Potter, who is white, is charged with shooting and killing Daunte Wright, who is black. Potter says during an attempted traffic stop, she mistook her gun for her taser. Her lawyers argue a fellow officer was endangered. Prosecutors counter she was not allowed to use deadly force. The criminal hearings into the fire that destroyed the USS Bonhomme Richard have been going on all week. Steve Walsh of member station KPBS in San Diego.
Okay, now you just heard that snippet from NPR, all right? They immediately talked about the white cop that accidentally killed the black man, right? Notice they had to use race. The white cop killing the black man, the white, white, black. I mean, it's crazy, right? Everybody in this country, you have to be a complete idiot to not understand that the woman thought she was pulling out her taser and pulled out a gun and shot that poor man, right? There's nobody that I can't even begin to fathom how anybody would take up for a woman that shot a man, mistaking her taser for a gun, right? It's crazy to me. It doesn't matter if it was a black man, a white woman, or if it was a black cop and a white woman. It was an idiot move, and they should be the justice should be upheld in this case. Right now, I'm a white person. I completely, totally don't care about what race it was, but you notice that they're pushing this white cop, black person now to the layman person who wouldn't know anything about that case, and they're going to listen to it, right? Because NPR is free. It's on the radio. You can just turn it on. All you hear is that a white cop killed another black man, and you have no idea about the case, right? You have no idea the context of the situation, and there's nobody, white, black, red, blue, brown, yellow, that would stand up and defend this woman. She deserves her trial. She deserves her defense. She deserves to be prosecuted, right? Even if it was an accident, right? Isn't that right, Alec Baldwin? But here's the proof. So you heard that, all right? Now, this morning was the same news snippet that was being played, and there was one that came right after this, and I came home immediately, and I recorded it on my phone. So the recording's not going to be great because, like I said, I thought it was going to be here just the same, but I'm going to play you the recording of what they said this morning, and here I'm just going to go ahead and play it because you have to hear this, okay?
To NPR News from Washington. In Minnesota, prosecutors are expected to rest their case today in the manslaughter trial of an ex-police officer. Kimberly Potter, who is white, is charged with shooting and killing Dante Wright, who was black, last April. Potter says during an attempted traffic stop, she mistook her gun for her taser. Her lawyers argue a fellow officer was also endangered at the time. Prosecutors counter she was not allowed to use deadly force. First Lady Jill Biden visited Waukesha, Wisconsin on Wednesday. She met some of the families who lost loved ones last month when a vehicle rammed into a crowd during the city's Christmas parade. From member station WUWM, Chuck Krumbach reports.
6 people died and more than 60 were injured in the parade incident. The First Lady laid a wreath at a local memorial display and met with 4 families at Waukesha City Hall. She later spoke to the news media and paid tribute to the deceased.
Okay, here we go. So what you just heard was, let's see, it's 11:26. What you just heard, the first snippet, was me playing the same NPR newscast, right? In which they were reporting on a story about a white woman, a white cop killing a black man, right? With no context of the case whatsoever. And that the story you heard first, and then it immediately went into another news report about fires, right? Now, this morning, what I heard was the same news article about a white cop killing a black person, and then the very next story you heard was First Lady Jill Biden went to Waukesha, where a vehicle ran into a crowd. Okay? Do you see the picture that I'm painting for you here? The narrative that I'm painting for you. So because they use race, okay? It doesn't matter that this was some idiot cop that thought she was pulling out a taser and it was mistaken for a gun, right? None of the facts of that case matter. Okay? What they wanted to do was highlight that it was a white woman that killed a black man. In the very next news story, who cares what color that the man was that was driving that Ford Explorer that ran into that parade, right? They will not even humanize that. They said a vehicle ran into the crowd. Do you understand how degrading this is, how divisive that is? They will not even cover it, let alone the man's black. Who cares if he was a black man? I certainly don't care. I don't care about race, about these things. I look at people as individuals. I look at people as, doesn't matter what color your skin is, but you understand, you see my point here about NPR. This is the kind of journalism that is making it to mainstream ears, right? They leave out complete context, and all they want to do is highlight race. But one of the worst things that I've ever seen, especially in recent years, this idiot, this whatever you want to call him, supremacist, this anti-white rapper, dude, whatever his name is, crazy, been in and out of jail. I've covered this in past episodes, and the media will not even report on what happened, let alone humanize this. Instead of it being an individual that purposefully ran his vehicle into a damn parade, the media uses the term vehicle. Vehicle. This wasn't a human that ran into anybody. This was a vehicle. You understand where we're at in this country? Do you understand how devastating this is? That normal people that don't think and don't look into the things that we look into are listening to this. So if I didn't know any better, I would literally think that like a Zamboni ran into a parade. You understand what I'm saying? Not a human, but a vehicle. Oh, a self-driving vehicle runs into parade, kills 6 people. But yet, the story before, I know that some idiot white cop killed a black man. Do you understand the division that's causing? I mean, I'm freaked out right now because I didn't mean to start the show like this. But all this to happen this morning, and I didn't even realize that they've already changed it. Somebody was smart enough, and they said, wow, I can't believe we've got these 2 stories together. Can you listen to how crazy this sounds? Because I certainly knew how crazy it sounded. In one story, you're going to highlight the race of 2 individuals, one being a cop and one being a black person. In the very next story, where 6 people lost their lives and countless of people are in the hospital, and they use the term vehicle instead of a human. I mean, this is clown world to a T. So I hope you people are paying attention. I couldn't believe it, and it honestly right now I should just stop recording because I've got cold chills that I didn't even know that NPR had already changed that, and I was just trying to run it in some better quality. But there you go. What more proof do you need that we're being lied to on a daily basis? What more proof does anyone need that there is a narrative here, that there is a controlled narrative that's being ran explicitly against the truth, against people just living, being good, living life? I mean, this is insanity. Insanity. So I'm freaked out right now because I'm doing this live, and this is huge to me. I mean, I cannot believe it. Number one, they've already changed the story, but you see the correlation here. First story, you highlight the race. The second story, you don't even highlight it as a human being who took 6 lives and ruined countless other lives, right? This is insane. So actually what I'm going to do real quick is I'm just going to take a quick pause and calm down, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that, folks. Just needed to calm down a little bit. And, hey, I'm doing the best I can, right? All right, let's move along to episode 8. Now that you heard that garbage, and like I said, we're living in clown world. So I want to start the show by just highlighting a little bit about Truth Social, right? So last week we talked about Truth Social, Donald Trump's new social media group that's coming online. And I believe it's going to be full force in January, right? And so as I was looking up some stuff and listening, and then just not even really focus on Truth Social, as soon as last week's episode had kind of aired, and then I was talking about it, and people were talking about it in the media, and we talked about how he raised over $1 billion from all these companies. All of a sudden, I started seeing these news articles pop up about Section 230, right? Now, I'm not prepared to really go into Section 230 much, but I do have just a little bit I'll talk about. It's called the Good Samaritan portion of the law, right? Under Section 230, an information service provider shall not be treated as a publisher or speaker of information from another provider. Provides immunity from civil liabilities for information service providers that remove or restrict content from their services as they deem obscene, lewd, lascivious, filthy, excessively violent, harassing, or otherwise objectionable, whether or not such material is constitutionally protected, as long as they act in good faith in this action. So I'm we all know what Section 230 is. Like I have this general idea in my head what Section 230 is, but I haven't sat down and actually researched it because here's the kicker when you talk about red versus blue, right? Well, up to 2 years ago, the Republicans, they wanted to redo Section 230 or strengthen Section 230, and the Democrats were completely against it. And now the Democrats they're actually wanting to add more regulations to Section 230 and regulate blah, 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 blah. Well, so it's a tug of war, right? We see this as just the absolute tug of war between the Republicans and Democrats over Section 230. Now, in the grand scheme of things, what do we see? Well, the Republicans want to strengthen Section 230 for freedom of speech, and the Democrats want to regulate Section 230 as less freedom of speech. But the one article that caught my eye was, and I'm going to have to try to do some more research, and I'll explain that in a second, but basically saying that there is a committee that is looking into wanting to legislate more regulation in Section 230 to where it broadens the law across the board. Like what I'm saying is like, whereas you just had Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, all these big media platforms, and then you've got the smaller media platforms that are coming up from behind, like Parler and Rumble and Telegram. Well, none of those people mattered, right? Because the Facebook and all this was top notch, and they're the kings of the hill, and they can do whatever the hell they want. So now what they're trying to do is they're trying to move to push more regulation to where everything fits across the board for all media companies, right? So follow me here. So basically, what this means is that they are scared to death that Rumble and Telegram and Parler and Truth Social and all of these media platforms are just growing every day, right? We covered that Rumble, they went on the stock market, they went public. Now they're making deals with other media companies, right? Media companies are moving out of Silicon Valley, moving to different parts of the state. What this means is that they are scared to death that when something like Truth Social comes online is going to actually be free speech, that a lot of people like myself are going to move their platforms over to these other platforms, which we've already started doing, right? And they, by God, better be scared. You see, but this is the problem when you have Republicans that sit on their hands. You have these rhinos that are supposed to be for free speech and protect the Constitution, and when they have the chance to actually do something and strengthen freedom of speech, they do nothing. They sit back on their hands, really, because they don't understand it. Because I don't understand it either, right? I dang sure know those people don't understand. You think Mitch McConnell understands Section 230? I mean, give me a break. But my point to all this is now you have this push for the Democrats, and they want it regulated across the board, right? They want to regulate every single media company. Why? Because they're so scared of the competition, and they understand that they've pissed off the American people so much that we're just begging for another platform that we can talk on, that we don't have to worry about being shadow banned. We don't have to worry about being kicked off. We don't have to worry about these things. And by God, we need to be watching this, because these people are going to try to push this regulation across the board, because they're not going to stop. They don't want us to speak freely. They don't want us to get our message out. They don't want the truth to be out there. What they want to do now is, under the guise of protecting their company, they don't want somebody like Truth Social or Parler or Telegram to be able to report on the truth, right? What they want to do is they want to regulate everything across the board, and they want to shut it down. So this is the next fight that you're going to see in social media world, is the regulation of Section 230 that's going to limit free speech across the board, right? Well, I'm going to tell you something right now. As soon as Truth Social comes up, I cannot wait to get off of YouTube. I cannot wait to get onto something where I don't have to worry about everything that I post, or every time that I want to post a Tucker Carlson video or a Steven Crowder video and I get shadow banned. I see it. I've done tests before. I don't care how many likes or how many people view any of my stuff, whatever. But I'll post something on like a Facebook post, and I might get anywhere 10 to 20 likes normally. But I'll post something like a Steven Crowder video or Tucker Carlson, nothing. I mean crickets. I'm telling you, they're shadow banning certain information. So this is huge. This is huge in the world of social media, and we need to be keeping an eye on it. Because frankly, that they're going to try to push regulation in for every media platform, okay? And yeah, of course it's unfair. It's unjust. It's stupid. But they have the ball in their court. They can do whatever they want. And unlike our conservative constituents, they will actually, they don't give two craps about what anybody thinks. They'll just go bull in a china shop and change whatever the crap they want. So anyway, I thought that was pretty interesting. I'm planning on doing Truth Social as soon as it comes out. I want to check it out, So let's go now to inflation. This is an interesting story that I saw this week from the Daily Wire. I'm sorry, that's not the right story. The right story that I wanted, I couldn't find. So we'll cover that again in a second. But this is just something from CNBC News that I was able to pull up. How bad is inflation? Even millionaires are worried about it. So last week we covered how they were praising the Biden administration for the most robust economy ever and how great things are going. I showed you the news snippets, and the whole time they were talking about inflation hitting, a 32-year high, and even millionaires are worried about it. It's the number one economic fear among millionaires for the first time in recent history. Government dysfunction was also a concern. Anyway, what I mean by all this is that, yeah. So we've got the greatest, most robust economy in the world again, better than under the Trump presidency. Yet inflation is just about to kick in. We're printing money like absolute crazy, and General Mills says they're going to go up 40% or so on their prices in January, February. So good luck with that, folks. I mean, our money is just no good. It's insane. Moving along, the next story I wanted to cover was the national debt, right? This is from the Daily Wire. National debt now $287,859 per household as Congress raises the debt ceiling, right? Let's go through this a little bit. The current national debt has reached about $28.9 trillion, according to the report, which means if you divide the $28.9 trillion that the federal government owed before the debt limit was lifted by 100 million American households that paid income taxes, it works out to approximately $287,859. So, well, that's great. Let's see. Back in 1989, the year that President Ronald Reagan left office, there were 89,178,355 income tax paying households, according to United States IRS. And that means the federal debt then equaled approximately $30,253. So anyway, I'm going to post post the article up. You can look it up if you want to. One of these days I'll figure out how to link all this stuff together. But this comes on the heels of our wonderful Senate actually doing the midnight vote and I guess blocking the filibuster or letting the filibuster go so that they could raise the debt limit to 2023. So they did that, of course, while we were all sleeping, right? Mitch McConnell. I mean, you just got to love him. I mean, if you can't see that this is all the same system, the same party, the same government, they can stand there and they can tell you one thing and they're going to raise the debt limit. They're going to keep printing money. They're going to do all of these things. They're not going to let the government shut down. They're going to keep borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. And then inflation just keeps skyrocketing. And then we are caught in the middle, right? So I don't give two craps what Mitch McConnell or any people in the Senate say. They're going to sit there and they're going to tell you how draconian this is and how crazy this is to do this. And then at 12 o'clock or 11:59 at night, they're going to allow filibuster to be moved aside so that they can vote to increase the debt ceiling. So that tells you anything. I don't think we're going to get out of any of this very soon. So next story I wanted to cover was, this is another Daily Wire story that caught my eye. In the first 2 weeks of December, Border Patrol agents seize enough fentanyl to kill more than 23 million people. So I'm not trying to do doom and gloom. I'm just trying to get this stuff out of here. But so, wow, what does that tell you? So the drugs moving into the southern border. Don't even get me started on the border and the absolute catastrophe that is going on down there, right? That's been going on down there. But Border Patrol agents sees enough fentanyl to kill more than 23 million people. So now we got to worry about fentanyl, okay? And if you don't know what fentanyl is, it's I don't know a whole lot about fentanyl, but I know that you add it to other drugs, I believe, such as meth and opioids and all this stuff, and I guess it gets you higher, but too much of it will kill you, right? And it's funny because we used to joke when we were kids, right? Because when I was still growing up, drugs were there, but it was still mostly alcohol, right? And then we knew that in the next, generation of children, it was going to be like marijuana, right? I'm not saying anything about drugs themselves or marijuana, but what I'm saying is like the evolution of everything, and and being a bail bondsman and being in the industry and working around all this stuff all these years, I thought, well, my God, what's it going to be in 15 years? They're just going to be doing drugs that you smoke one time and it'll kill you. And here we have fentanyl in 2021, right? And it's 20. They seize enough to kill a lot of people. And I know people that have overdosed on fentanyl. I know people that have well, I don't know if an overdose is accidental, but I know we had a situation where a law enforcement officer had died just by touching this stuff, okay? Just by letting it soak into their skin. Apparently, they died. Now, I don't have the story behind that, and I'm not going to go look it up. You can look at those things up if you want to look into fentanyl, but we don't have enough to worry about, so watch your drugs out there, people, because it could be laced with too much fentanyl. I mean, my God, this is insane. Insane, right? So moving on to another story from Clown World, and I'm not going to cover this either, but, we talked about Hillary Clinton last episode about reading her presidential speech if she would have been nominated, and now the media is circulating a possible 2024 run between Trump and Clinton, Hillary Clinton again. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It's insane the crap they're putting out there, which I didn't share it, but if anybody wants to go back, if you subscribe to Tucker Carlson, I love Tucker Carlson. He's great, and I watched a lot of his stuff, but he had a really good clip. I think it was yesterday from the 15th, talking about the possible lists of people that could replace Joe Biden, and Stacey Abrams made the list, but you got to watch the whole clip to the end because it's pretty funny. I didn't know, but apparently she writes like those janky love novels, the kind that you find in the dime store, like pulp noir love stories, and they read a snippet of it on the show, and it gave me a pretty good laugh. So, and then the next story I'm going to cover, and this should be the last of my current news, is this was from the AP News. U.S. Navy fires laser weapon in Mideast amid drone boat threat. So basically, we'll go a little bit into this. In this handout, infrared photo. It's got an infrared photo showing that they fired a laser out. The U.S. Navy announced it tested a laser weapon and destroyed a floating target in the Mideast, a system that could be used to counter bomb-laden drones, boats deployed by Yemen's Houthi rebels in the Red Sea. So they're testing out laser weapons. So this is not science fiction. This is real. So, we talk about weather manipulation. We talk about all these secret weapons that the government tests, right? And now it's on mainstream news. This is not nothing new, but they're firing laser weapons, testing them out and destroying stuff. So, they're worried about us having ARs and rifles and trying to defend ourselves, yet they have lasers now. So I guess we're just going to be obliterated by lasers. I just wanted to bring that up. I know that all sounds doom and gloom, and believe me, I know how it sounds, but these are the things that jump out at me every week that I cover, because it is Clown World. And I'm trying to show, of course, how manipulative all of these is. They want to call you a conspiracy theorist for believing that they can manipulate weather, and then turn around and show you a story about weather manipulation. They want to call you crazy for thinking that the government has secret weapons of war, and then they turn around and they show you where a Navy fires laser weapons, right? They want to try to convince you that this is the greatest economy in the world and you should be grateful. And then they turn around and show you how your money's worthless and inflation is at an all-time high. They turn around and they say, we're fighting for you, conservatives, the majority, the silent majority. And then they turn around 11:59 and they raise the debt ceiling yet again, right? And then, like I started with, they want to show you, they want to highlight race in every single thing they do, but they won't even humanize a horrible tragedy. Instead of a man, a violent, racist man, no matter what color his skin was, a violent, racist man who tore into a parade in a crowd, killed 6 people, wounded countless others, but they won't even humanize it. They'll tell you that it was a vehicle. This is clown world. So it's funny. I'm not going to go as long as I normally do. I'm trying to keep everything under an hour. I'm doing good right now. But I wanted to get a little personal. I kind of wanted to get into more about God and about where I came from to get to this point to do this. Because now people are starting to comment. People are starting to send me text and say, hey, I like the show, I'd like to see more of this, or, things are janky, so I'm really enjoying that because I'm also seeing where other YouTube channels are actually sending me likes or stuff, and for example, somebody had posted something, or I had posted the show on another group, and then I got this laugh face from a comment, I guess, and so I went to it, and it was another YouTube channel with a woman and a man. I don't know if I can mention them anyway, so I'm not going to, and I went to their channel and looked it up, and they've got their own radio show, and they're doing the video thing, and it's, and there's like 1 to 2 people, and they're covering all kinds of stuff, and I was like, this is really cool, because you see all this stuff, and first off, I want to let anybody out there know that where I'm coming from with this, do I really, okay, what I'm trying to say is I don't care. I'm not out here for any kind of financial benefit or, sure, in the grand scheme of things, I'd love to see the channel grow. I'd love to see things progress and be able to talk more and hook up with more people and communicate more, right? My main focus of this is just kind of highlighting, learning, teaching, and bringing more community in, right? Because I've always said, you're not going to change the minds of people who are not ready to change, right? And this is going to tie into the end. But what I am going to do is I'm looking for people that I can connect with, that we're on the same wavelength, we're on the same page. Because if you don't see what is going on here, and that the fact that they're trying to just crumble our society, they're trying to divide us so bad that we're going to get to the point to where we're going to have to rely on people of like-minded, right? Because there is another story out that I'm trying to find as I'm talking, but it talks about the basically the country that is in the way that it's being divided, right? And I'm going to look for it right here because I believe that I have it. Yes. And so that's my main goal, right? Is I am just trying to hook up with people. If somebody finds me, because obviously when the further you get going into something like this, what's going to happen is the people that don't like what you're saying, they're going to share it. They're going to fight back against you. They're going to play dirty, right? I'm just out here speaking my mind, doing my thing. I don't really care where this goes per se, because I'm going to do it anyway. But as it does grow, I'm going to start facing more opposition, right? Because these people try to dox, and they do crazy stuff, and they try to intimidate you, and you see it all over the place. And it's something that I've had to wrap my mind around and wrangle with, because when you become like something in the public, when you're talking out there, and you're kind of being vulnerable and putting yourself out there, they want to attack you, right? They don't want you to share this information. They don't want you to highlight these things because, they're crazy. So I just want to let everybody know that, hey, I'm here and I'm not going anywhere, and you're not going to scare me. And you can delete me all you want, and I'm going to keep going. And I just, if you don't like the channel, if you don't like what I'm saying, start your own thing, go somewhere else, because I'm not coming over there pissing in your bushes either. But that's going to happen. And that's just something we have to prepare ourselves with. But the reason I said that, this is from studyfinds.org. Political polarization in U.S. may be reaching an irreversible tipping point, right? Talking politics during the holidays can turn family gatherings into hostile debates very fast. Findings reveal at this point extreme polarization becomes irreversible. The team's predictive model for measuring the behavior of a polarized political group like current U.S. Senate shows that even an attack by a foreign power or another pandemic would not heal the political divide. This is the stories that are in the mainstream news. This is what the things they're covering. So they're telling you that it's irreversible, that we're not going to be able to go back. I keep showing you how they talk about society can never go back. Now we're seeing more and more reports like up in Oregon, how certain counties are wanting to, what's the word I'm looking for? They're wanting to succeed. They're wanting to succeed into Idaho. Now, I am not going to really comment on my thoughts about succession, but let me tell you something. It is a very real possibility. In fact, it could be one of the only possibilities moving forward to keep us from a full-blown civil war or a takeover by another country, i.e. China, for example. Because I hope you understand that if something were to really happen with our system, right? Our system was to go down, our government was to go down. I wouldn't worry about fearing the military too much because they're going to have a whole lot of crap on their hands because the first people that are going to move in would be Russia and China would move in to take over the U.S. You understand what I'm saying? I'm just real talk to you. Yeah, you got a lot of things to be worried about, but I guarantee you if something were to ever happen, the U.S. was ever going to fall in real time, like really, you wouldn't be worried about the boots on the ground here in America. What you'd be worried about is other superpowers that will come right in to swoop up America. That's just going to happen. And they have the perfect opportunity to come through Canada, through Mexico, however they want. But that is your real opposition. Just like I always say, the bottom line is depopulation. Well, if our government is to fail, then I'm not worried about my military. My military is going to be worried about other superpowers. So they want to continue to divide us. It's all about doing away with the Constitution, doing away with our liberties, doing away with the government structure so that they can put us under one global power, right? I've covered it, the transhumanism, the singularity, and they want to depopulate this world. They only want a few to run this world, and they want to hook us all in as machines, as commodities. And yes, it sounds crazy, but the AP News is reporting on laser weapons being fired at sea. Believe what you want to believe. You can think I'm crazy all day long, but these are the kind of things that are coming at us at 100 miles an hour. So it is a lot to take on, and I think I've got a little bit of brighter news to share at the end. My analysis, but so all this is coming at us. Here we have. As the political polarization reaches this tipping point, the U.S. continues to divide. Yes, you're going to hear more and more about succession, right? California, for example, if you look how draconian California is, just had a friend of mine send me a article this morning about the legislation, the regulations that they're pushing in California that's going to basically ban most gas-powered equipment, right? I don't think that includes cars, and I had already thought it had been regulated a couple months ago. But apparently they just finalized it here very, very recently. But if you don't already know, and a lot of people don't, because I had this conversation last week with a few people that I was around, and I explained to them in California what they're doing. And they didn't know anything about it. They were like, really? But that's what they're doing. They're getting rid, for example, you won't be able to use a gas-powered leaf blower. You won't be able to use a gas-powered chainsaw. In California, you will be fined. I want to say it's up to like $1,000 or so. And you probably could be facing jail time. So that state is already moving along there. If you look at the new legislation that Governor Newsom is wanting to write that basically shadows the abortion legislation in Texas, but instead of abortion, he wants to use it as assault rifles, right? So we know California is completely bonkers. Like, California is bonkers, and they're having the biggest exodus in the history of the state, right? So, I mean, is it any wonder that, succession may be imminent for something like California? I mean, seriously, it's going to come down to the point to where it's all going to be regional. I mean, look at the state of Georgia, for example. The state of Georgia, the entire state is basically just a conservative state, right? It's just a bunch of people that are just trying to live and work and live a good life. And yet you have Atlanta, which is this big blue cancer right in the middle of it that's just spreading. And so is it any wonder that at some point in the near future that Georgia may end up being democratically controlled, right? Because we have Atlanta. So California, I believe there was another article I read about California that I believe now, based on several curricula of numbers, that California it's impossible for California to ever become a conservative state again. Like, by every metric that can be measured, California is completely gone, right? So, I think it'll end up coming into like regions and states, which federalism is not a horrible thing. That's what federalism is. But it will come to the point, I believe, in the next 20 years, if we can survive, if we can keep things running long enough, that we will see states like California succeed and other states. And we may end up having to move. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of talk. For example, Dave Rubin. I love Dave Rubin. Pretty good guy if you're not familiar with him. He used to be a real big liberal, young Turks dude, and then he ended up going on his own because he had the wake-up call. He looked one day and just looked around and said, this is absolutely ridiculous. And now, he's a pretty straight, in-the-middle, conservative. I enjoy listening to him, but he's finally made the push out of California. And if I can, I'll share a link, but he made that push, and they're going to Florida, Miami. And he also owns the app Locals, which I've looked into before, but there's just so much out there. They're moving their whole company, and I believe they have some new contracts with some other media companies. They're moving out of Silicon Valley and moving to a state that has no income tax and that welcomes somebody like him, right? So they're going to build a media empire. So you'll probably hear a lot more about Locals in the future, right? Because these people are creating these media empires so that they can fight against the fascist Facebook and all of this stuff. So I said all that to say I'd like to, in the near future, cover more federalism and succession, so maybe we can all learn something, including myself, about it, because it keeps popping up in the news. Why? Because they want to divide us. They want to divide us. They want to tell us that polarization is irreversible, and that all of these, you're never going to come back from this. It's just going to be further and further and further. And now they're talking about succession. So I thought that was interesting. So I'm going to do a little bit of COVID here, the coof. And what I'd like to play for you is a clip from Steven Crowder. And I thought this was pretty interesting, what they want to say here. I'm going to play two for you, as a matter of fact. But this is the first one. I want you to listen to this. I thought this was very interesting.
Before we actually move on to the react here to TikTok, because I want to cleanse the palate, we should celebrate the exalted cyclops of the KKK and science realm, Dr. Fauci, just appeared. This just happened right now on CNN this morning, and he had some refreshing news on the Omnicorp variant.
Wait. Oh. Is that a possible outcome here, that Omicron becomes dominant, but there's an advantage in that it's less dangerous?
That is a possibility, but let me give you the details about where we get those data, mostly from South Africa. So in South Africa, they're getting a very, very pronounced spread in almost a vertical spike of infection. And yet when you look at the early data,
when you hear
it
about a
does
new virus you
appear
can exploit.
that there is a diminution in the severity as expressed by hospitalization. The real question is that an inherent diminution of virulence of the virus?
Stop saying diminution.
Or is it because there are so many people in the population who have already been infected and now have residual post-infection immunity, which is not protecting them from getting infected, but is protecting them from getting severe disease. Whatever it is,
stop
the
nodding
disease
like
seems
you
to be
know.
less severe.
Hold on a second. You just said the part that matters, and then you just completely muddied the water with stuff that doesn't matter. So it is less severe. People are not dying. It's incredibly mild, but it's still a pandemic because a lot of people could get the sniffles.
So you heard that, right? You heard Fauci talk about how the coof is just more like flu symptoms and a lot less of what the Delta variant was, but that doesn't matter, right? We're still in full blast pandemic mode, and we got to shut everything back down. So they don't want to share with you that this virus could be mutating to a much lesser lethal variant, and they still want you to get your 15 boosts and all that other junk, right? So I thought I would cover that, and I also had one more recording that I wanted to show. Oops, sorry about that. I wanted to share with you. This is from Gavin Newsom. I want you to hear what Gavin Newsom had to say about this.
In Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. Federal health officials say the Omicron variant of the coronavirus has caused the percentage of reported infections to jump 7 times in just 1 week. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention estimates Omicron is now responsible for about 13% of cases in a region that includes New York and New Jersey. As the variant spreads, California is now requiring everyone in nearly all parts of that state to wear masks indoors. California Governor Gavin Newsom says Omicron is worrying.
The Omicron in particular is of concern because we know the transmissibility is much higher. The severity may not be as acute, but we're seeing it disproportionate. We have 48 cases in California we've identified. This is important. And the vast majority, overwhelming majority, have been fully vaccinated.
Some other states.
Now, did you heard that? Those cases are vaccinated people. So we went on all wear masks, don't wear masks, all this, and then they started talking about herd immunity, right? And now they're saying that, well, these are all vaccinated cases that are catching this. Look, I mean, I'm not going to cover this stuff here. I've already got one community striker. There's a plethora of information out. And I believe that everything I've covered here is straight from the horse's mouths, right? So they can fact check me all they want. They can say these things. But this, you heard it from Dr. Fauci and you heard it from Gavin Newsom, two people that are not very high on my good list. So they're basically trying to tell you that this variant is a lot less lethal and that it's actually progressing the way that they originally said it should progress, which is that as more herd immunity takes over, the variants will become weaker. But none of that matters, right? None of that matters. We're still going to lock you down. We're still going to force you to take these shots, take the jabs, and that none of that really matters, right? And none of it matters whether you've been boosted or not, right? And so we're seeing more and more reports now of these idiotic companies that are forcing their people to get these things, and then they're turning around and they're threatening them by their jobs, their money. So don't expect this to go away. If it's this ludicrous right now, right? It's this ludicrous that they're actually admitting that vaccinated people have no, they have no protection from the new variant, and that the new variant is much less lethal, which we should be celebrating. We should be celebrating that this next mutation is a lot less lethal, right? But they're doing the exact opposite, all right? So look at what's going on in the country. Look at what's going on in other countries. I see Germany, Australia, several, and it's almost too much to keep up with, right? All I can tell you is to stand your ground, because they're not going to make me do anything that I do not want to do. I mean, it's absolutely crazy that we're living in such clown world that they can report this kind of media like this and expect you just to believe it. And then you've got these idiot talking heads that just sit there and listen to it. A good friend of mine, Jennifer, had posted yesterday, the longer I remain unjabbed, the more evidence I see supporting my decision. Well, I really, really like that. And I think I just gave you a little bit more evidence to support that meme, right? So, before I go to my final thought here, I do want to share a text message from somebody. I'm not going to name their name because I didn't ask them first before I did this. This person I've known for quite some time, used to work with this person, and also affiliated with this person in different ways that, we do things, we work on projects and stuff. We're going to be doing a lot next year. But out of all the messages that I've received, and by the way, I really appreciate everybody taking the time to send me feedback and let me know what's going on, because I'm going to do this no matter what, but I also, I have an obligation not only to speak the truth and to share the truth, but to make it interesting and to make it where people want to listen to it, So if I can do things better, I always want to know that I can do them better. But this person wrote me, and they said, I got a chance to listen to your podcast, and I like the points you hit on. I'm not into politics, so I have no opinion, but the way you gave your comparison gives an accurate explanation of the divisions and deflect tactics currently going on. I would like to hear your views on all the so-called catastrophes that are happening back to back. It's as if there's a hidden narrative behind all these events. I try to stay away from most political views, but something is definitely going on. The agenda is real. Actually, I don't think it's political. I think more on the scare tactics and absolute control. Well, she could not have been any more right, and I could not have agreed with her any more. And I know this person is not political. And what I mean by that is how we are truly polarized politically. And this is coming from somebody who is not political. Now, they are definitely, they know what's going on. These people are aware that things are not what they seem. It's what we cover here all the time. Things are never what they seem. And she's getting more and more into it. And I appreciate that comment, because that is to a T exactly what my goal is with this show, is to point out that things are not what they seem. It is all a narrative, and it is being controlled. Now, I'm fixing to end this, and I want to do a more personal show later and kind of just lay out a few things that's been heavy on my mind. And it's hard to do that when you're just getting hit all the time with all this clown world stuff. But if you don't know who Greg Reese is, Greg Reese is a man who does some very, very killer work exposing, the truth. Just, he's on, you can find him on band.video. You can also subscribe to Greg Reese. And I'm trying to find his video here. Yes. Because if you don't know, like when I cover all these things and I say that this is a planned excursion, and people don't want to realize that, like, everybody's in on it, right? Like, we know everybody's in on this, and it's, people can't handle it in their mind. Like, no, this can't be. Like, you look at the pedophile that's going on, and they want to say that it's a huge conspiracy theory, yet more and more people all over the CIA has been hiding pedophile cases. The Catholic Church hides they hide pedophile cases. Now, you look at Epstein and Maxwell and all this crap, and the Queen of England and their family. And this stuff is going on all over the place, right? And then when you're in my line of work, right, which I've done bail bonding for over almost 21 years, and I can tell you single-handedly the amount of like child molestation cases, pedophilia cases that I've dealt with and seen, and stuff that you don't know about that goes on in this area, and stuff that I won't talk about publicly. But I can assure you that it is a problem, and it goes on far, far more than you would think. But it also involves high-profile people, and involves corporations. And I guess they just were caught off guard on the internet and how good that people could research and do things. And so they can't hide this. Like, people scratch their head and they say, how did Lolita Express, how was Bill Clinton able to travel 26, 27 times on Lolita Express? And how are all these people in these books and everything? Well, it's because They never thought they'd be caught. I mean, they couldn't fathom being caught because it was a network. It was a network protected. All right. And now all this stuff is spinning out of control, and you're seeing all of these things in real time, and then you're seeing the narrative cover up, right? You're not getting the full story because they're trying so hard to do the most minimal they can do to keep things hidden. And call me a tinfoil, but they just released a bunch of JFK classified documents yesterday. I didn't even read any of it yet because all I see are the headlines. It's going to further conspiracy. It's going to further conspiracy theories. Now they're dropping all this UFO stuff. Don't tell me that these are not some kind of controlled drops to keep your mind wandering, right? They want you to look at all this stuff, and they want you to become preoccupied so that they can finish getting rid of all the real stuff that's going on, and they can just move along. Just move along, folks. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. So I'm going to end with Greg Reese's video, and I'm going to hopefully get a link up. I'm going to try to do better, get links up. But I'm going to play this in its full entirety. It's about 5 minutes, and I'll come back to you. But if you don't think that this is some sort of cartel, if you don't think that this is some kind of planned, situation by several people, and people aren't being trained to do this, and people aren't being coerced into doing this, then I want you to listen very carefully, and I want you to, this is your homework assignment. I want you to go to band.video. I want you to click on the Greg Reese. I want you to look at this video for yourself, the Banking Cartels School for Judas Goats. I want you to listen to all the people that are involved in this, and then tell yourself, am I really crazy? Am I crazy for thinking that a lot of people are in on this very same thing, right? So here goes the video.
Like millions of us must be feeling worldwide, economist Ernest Wolff believes a hidden alliance of political and corporate leaders are exploiting the COVID-19 pandemic with the goal of crashing their economies and making way for a global digital currency. Wolff has been researching the history of Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum and has found a very fundamental piece of their criminal puzzle. The Young Global Leaders School, established and managed by Klaus Schwab. The World Economic Forum, originally called the European Management Forum, brought together 31 nations at its very first meeting in 1971 and is currently funded by 1,000 multinational corporations. Klaus Schwab hadn't really accomplished much in economics. His father made weapons for the Nazis, and he trained under Henry Kissinger at the Harvard Business School, which is where he was likely tapped to be the face of the World Economic Forum. In 1992, Schwab established the Global Leaders for Tomorrow School, which was reestablished as the Young Global Leaders in 2004. Attendees must officially apply for admission and be selected. Alumni of the school's very first class include Angela Merkel, Nicolas Sarkozy, and Tony Blair. Other attendees include Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, Jacinda Ardern.
So long as there's people who are eligible who haven't been vaccinated, we've got work to do. I don't think I'll ever be satisfied so long as there's someone who is eligible and hasn't been. And that's why I've said this, there's not going to be an endpoint to this vaccination program.
President of France, Emmanuel Macron. Governor of California, Gavin Newsom.
That's why we recognize our responsibility to do more, and that's what we are announcing here today. A statewide requirement for in-person instruction for all of our children to add to a well-established list that currently includes 10 vaccinations and well-established rules and regulations that have been advanced by the legislature for decades, to add to that list the vaccination.
U.S. Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg. Other attendees of the Young Global Leaders include Virgin's Richard Branson, the Clinton Foundation's Chelsea Clinton, and BlackRock's Larry Fink. Approximately 1,300 global leaders have attended this school from North America, Asia, Africa, and South America, most of whom are all pushing the same criminal hoax, the lockdowns, and the deadly experimental jabs. These are the foot soldiers bringing about the angry world that Klaus Schwab talked about.
I don't know how it will play out in November, but what we know is that we will end up with many more unemployed, and particularly also people in the gray economy, which are not counted for, who lose their jobs. So we will see definitively a lot of anger already now, but probably increased by the end of the year, because this crisis will be with us until we really have found a remedy. So we have to prepare for a more angry world.
So that his masters can bring about their one world government system. And in 2012, Klaus Schwab began the Global Shapers community, which has groomed an army of 10,000 young people to be the next group of saboteurs around the world, currently holding meetings in 400 cities worldwide. For Infowars.com, this is Greg Reese.
There you heard it. You can look that video up. Pretty irrefutable evidence there. If you want to go down the rabbit hole and look up those institutions and understand that thousands and thousands of people are planning our future and they don't really want to include us in it. So I thought that was very important. I think that would be a great homework assignment for all of us to look more into this, because number one, you're not going to get that in any news outlet publication anywhere. They're not going to highlight these kinds of things. But if you want to look at the cartel, right? If you don't think that this is global, if you don't think that this is planned, well, there you have it, folks. There's actually schools that are taking these people in and teaching them. And these are all the people that are telling us that we're conspiracy theorists and that we're crazy and that we're crazy for not getting jabbed and all these things. Now, posting this kind of stuff will probably get me banned. So just remember that right now I'm on Parler, Telegram, Rumble, and soon to be on Truth Social. Still trying to post on MeWe. I've still got problems there, but the content is out there if you want it. And whether I get canceled off of YouTube or Facebook or anything else, I'm still going to make these as long as I want to make them. But I just want to shed more light and show you. So to the person who sent me that message, you need to look up Greg Reese and find that video. It's called The Banking Cartel School for Judas Goats. And there you will find that this is a plandemic. There you will find that it is a global cabal, right? And you can look it up. Just like I've been trying to cover BlackRock, and you hear more and more about BlackRock and Goldman Sachs and the people that control our money. Still want to do an episode on the ESG score. I think I'm saying that right. EGS score. And why these companies are promoting all the filth that we see on the TV, because there's a reason for it, and it all has to do with money. I'll end real quick here. Reset Wars is coming out, and it's a little expensive. If you've looked into it a little bit, I do plan on subscribing and purchasing it. So I'm going to get into that within the next couple of weeks and see what kind of information that it is. So continue to look that up. I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of information on it, but I do know that there are folks out there that are trying really hard to fight against this. Call me a pessimist, but I'm not sure that we can still fight, to be honest with you. I just don't know, but I'm not going to stop. I mean, just because I'm never going to stop. So, and I'm sure that in the grand scheme of things that I'll be one of the first people that'll be taken out of society. And, it's just something you got to live with, right? If you're going to stand up and you're going to talk about the truth and you're going to highlight these kinds of things, then we need to be prepared. So I'm fully prepared, all of you institutions out there. I already am one step ahead of your thinking there. So make no mistake, I am an enemy of the state and am labeled a terrorist for even doing all these kinds of things, but I really don't give a crap. So big shout out to everybody who have subscribed and been sending me stuff, and I thank you for listening, participating. I'm only going to try to get better. I got some cool stuff coming up in January. We're going to do some video stuff. I'm going to try to expand the channel here to accommodate more video. And I just hadn't figured it out yet. It's hard to sit down and do everything, but I'm slowly learning. So, but I appreciate it, and I urge each one of you out there to start up your own channel, to get on the airwaves, to use your voice as a weapon, to let them understand and know that you know what's going on, that you know that all of these things are not what they seem. And we'll continue to fight as we see new platforms coming out, as we see more, hopefully more freedom being established for us to speak our voice and share this information and become more knowledgeable in what we're dealing with. And I will leave you again with this thought. If you are not buying water, potable water for storage, if you're not storing up food, fuel to cook that food, if you're not getting prepared for any type of emergency, then there is no help for you. Okay, I've talked to several people fairly recently who have told me I don't need to do that. Okay, well, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. If you think all of these things right now that are going on, if you think the inflation is bad, if you think that our money supply is bad and our debt ceiling is bad, you've not seen nothing yet when your water and your power are turned off, and then you think that you can just go down to the local watering hole, or you can go down to the store and get your groceries. They're already talking about keeping us out of grocery stores, okay? I mean, I want to make sure that no matter what, I can feed myself and my family, at least long enough, okay? So think about that and do some research. But I appreciate everybody, and Kingdom Lum out, Small Town Underground. Y'all have a great day.